I think right now your actual bigger risk is growth instead of cash. But you just almost doubled the amount of effort and impact that you can create. And there's nothing biblical about being cautious. All right, sat down with Dalton. Love this guy, love the mission, love the business. On paper, he's winning, he's crushing it. 30 to 50,000 a month, strong margins, got a savings, but he's stuck. He's stuck running the day-to-day, and so many of you guys are, because he couldn't get himself. He couldn't bring in another person to replace himself. The real problem, in this case, is not cash. It was trusting the business that he had already built. All right, I'm gonna show you how I separated the real risk from the imagined, like the risk that's in his head, and hopefully I gave Dalton a really clear path forward.
Well, just to kind of catch up with everything where the business is, the business is doing good as far as, from a number standpoint. We probably bring in around 30 to 50,000 a month sometimes, but profit margin, I mean, we're about 30% profit, 70% of all gross revenue goes, to expenses. We might not spend the whole 70% that goes to expenses. Sometimes it just sits in the business account, but right. That's kind of how our structure is. And that 70% also includes paying me a salary and all that. So,
oh man. All right, Dalton's number, they sound healthy, but listen to what he says when I ask about the business is actually operating. You see, you may be making great money, but do you just have a glorified job? Can the business function without you?
Yeah, so as far as the numbers, I mean, the business is doing good, but as far as from a standpoint of operationally, I think we're struggling with the aspect of getting me out of helping in the operations. You see what I mean? I think that was the last time we talked. That was something, I'd mentioned to you a little bit as well. And so that's kind of where we're at on the revenue side of things. Since last time we talked, we did make some changes and it did help for the better, but I feel like we've kind of somehow reverted back to what we was doing. So,
and you're full-time in ministry too.
Correct. Yeah. Pastor full-time.
Holy cow. So pastor full-time. And then on the side, you have this other business, which is why this is a big problem, because if you're in the operations of it, that's taking a lot of energy and time, right?
Oh yeah, for sure. I think time constraint being, being very efficient is the need that we have, just so I can operate what we do, everything we do at a high level, at least,
How many team members do you have right now, Dalton?
So I think last time we talked, we may have had, we might have had 4, including myself, it'd have been 5, but now currently we have 3, and they're still all, just like we discussed last time, they're still all part-time. So,
all right. So not fully committed, but you're making enough money. Why have you not jumped? Why not bring on some full-time folks? Or is it?
So the issue I feel like with the full-time people is our guys, like, we pay very well, all of them. I think the lowest guy makes like 23 an hour, but we have one guy, he's kind of like, I guess he's part-time, but the goal is to get him full-time eventually to kind of manage all of the operations. Matter of fact, he's the guy who went to that conference with me. But he, that conference you put on, that is, but so anyways, he's kind of, we pay him very well salary-wise, but he helps with a lot of the build outs, the operations, a lot of the technical stuff. He does take a lot of that off my plate. But as far as, operations, there's just so many different components of it that, he can't do all of that part-time, But I guess I think the reason it is, with part-time is it does come down to a financial issue. And I was actually going to tell you that it could be, if we wanted to keep 30% profit margins, then we can't really afford to hire, at least the guys that we have now. 2 of them can't even go full-time because their schedules just won't allow it. The one guy who can go full-time, like, it would be very substantial hit financially, I guess it would, So that's kind of the structure there. I was going to mention that to you. It could be, the answer is, I don't know this, but we're about to increase our prices on what we do, like increase our products. I know that was one question you had last time we talked.
Mm-hmm.
And so we are about to do that. It's about a 20% increase we're doing towards the middle and end of July. So that might help with that situation, being able to hire someone full time. But
what I hear you saying is that JC, if I want to keep my margin at 30%, I cannot bring them on full time. Is that correct?
That is absolutely correct. Yeah.
Dalton keeps coming back to this one number, right? 30%. Like, what? 30? Why 30? Maybe that's good, but like, pay attention to why I challenge that. A financial target can help you run the business, but it can also become an excuse to avoid the next move. In the part-time, you feel that the time that they're giving is 100%, right? It's just a matter of you need to double their time. It's not like in the part-timeness, they're missing the beat there and you're having to kind of be on top of it, correct? Why the 30%? Where'd you get that number from?
That's just where it's landed. We read that profit first piece. And so I say the profit first book, I say 30% is profit margin. On paper, it's profit margin. Technically, 15% of that is set aside for taxes at the end of the year. Gross. You know what I mean? So on paper, it's profit margin, but in reality, it's not all profit. You know what I mean? So.
Right. And you pay taxes on the profits you make, correct?
Correct. Yeah. We just take 15% of our whole gross. So whatever gross is, we take 15%.
Yeah. You should have a lot of that left over by the end of the year, correct?
Yeah. We typically will come out a little bit ahead,
Yeah. Okay. So here's my next question. How much in savings do you have?
We probably have right under that 60,000 as far as, for the business savings for like a rainy day. That, you know what I mean? So like if no sales came in next month, we have around 60,000 we could probably pull from. All
right, guys, 60 grand. It sounds like a lot of money, but the number means nothing without context. Here is the calculation every owner should make before deciding whether they can hire or afford to hire someone new. I love it. I love it. So one of the things that I do with savings is that I count savings in months. Okay. If Apple had 60,000 in their bank, that's not good, right?
Yeah.
If you have 60,000 in the bank, that's pretty good. The difference here is not about how much you have. It's about how many months you have. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So like today, you said you're doing 30,000 revenue. However, you're only doing 15 to 20,000 in expenses, correct?
Yeah, we got about 18 to 20,000. Now that's for paid advertising for the company and everything, like just everything.
That's right. We
need about 18 to 20,000 to pay for all of our expenses
right now. And that's not even a get small budget. That's like keeping it as it is, correct?
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah. So what I would do is I would say, number one, what is my get small budget? And I'm going to lead to something here because this is a really good question you're asking, Dalton. And I would much rather, if I'm going to make a mistake, I'd rather make a mistake on the caution side, have extra money and grow slower than anything else. But there is a formula here that I like to use. All right. So number one, I would calculate what's my get small budget. For you, Dalton, it's probably 16,000 a month. In other words, if you lost all revenue tomorrow, what would you put the budget down in order to make sure you pay your people, pay yourself what's needed, X, Y, Z, right?
Mm-hmm.
Make sense? So if it's 15 grand, then that means you have 4 months of cash savings, right?
Right.
60 grand divided by 15. All right, guys, the conversation is about to change. It's about to shift. Dalton came in believing a new hire would make the business less safe, but the numbers reveal that actually staying small may actually be the riskier move. I think right now your actual bigger risk is growth instead of cash. Like, what are you going to do different if you had 100 grand right now in the bank versus 60? Anything?
Probably not.
Probably not, right? So at this moment, I actually think the value of now let me ask a different question. So on one hand, we got 4 months of savings, right? And that's if we lost 100% of our revenue, right? If you lost 50% of the revenue, you probably have 18 months of savings, right?
Yeah.
Because you'd go down to 15,000 in revenue and then you'd have about 15,000 expenses, so you've got so much, your savings is not the issue, right? Stability is not the issue. The issue that you have right now is how do you get your key person to grow and how do you get them more involved to help serve your clients in a higher capacity, correct?
Correct, yeah.
Okay, so how much more is it going to cost you to hire this person straight up? Are you just going to double down on the $23 or would it be like maybe $20 a month, an hour, or what would it cost you to say, hey, Joe Dan, I want to bring you on full time?
Yeah, that was one thing I was actually going to ask if this question did get brought up about as far as hiring someone full time. So I guess when it comes to something I struggle with is okay. So one of our big one of our big expenses, I feel like that comes out of one of our guys' times. Like if I could free him up, even at part time, he could do a lot more. is if we could have someone monitor our customer support just fully. You know what I mean?
Right.
And also, when there ain't no customer support, maybe do some little oddball stuff, as far as like, whatever it is, review an ad campaign, stuff like that. So I guess my thought is, well, I guess we could hire, like we had talked, full-time, maybe VA that's got many years in experience and pay them, 15 an hour, whatever would be a good wage for that. And then that I don't even know what 15 an hour at, 40 hours a week would come out.
That's a lot of money. If you go to LATAM, I mean, you can hire people, full time for anywhere from $1,000 to $3,000. $3,000 a month is going to get you someone that's got a lot of experience.
Yeah. See, and that's what I would want. I would want something like, if I could, because our customer support, a lot of it's around Go High Level and some Facebook advertising stuff and Ads Manager. So if we could find an expert that's good in High Level and Ads Manager, and they actually have a 40-hour week with us, then that would probably really, change a lot of stuff, to be honest.
Yeah. So if I'm in your shoes, I probably want to stick around, the 3 or 4 months of expenses. So now here's the cool thing. When you hire someone, your expenses, your get small budget just went up, right? You're going to go from 16 grand and now my get small budget's, 17,000. I want you to play around this idea of maintaining a 4 months of cash savings. All right, what I'm about to say here, I want to pre-warn you, don't just listen to who I tell Dalton to hire, listen to the why. The best hire does more than just save the owner time. The best and the right hire makes your best people more valuable as well. Then what I want you to do beyond that is I want you to go find the best people who can take things off your plate and the best people who can take your second and third best people's things off their plate. Does that make sense what I'm saying?
Yeah.
In other words, your job right now is to remove things from your plate, and your job is to remove things from your number 2 and number 3's plate so that they can focus on the bigger thing. Because it's gonna compound, Dalton. Probably what's gonna happen is that if you brought on a full-time, ads funnel builder, high-level expert, you're probably gonna spend around $1,500. Okay, and I'll hook you up with someone from my team to get you in touch with one of our recruiting companies to help make that happen. If you want to call, all right. And then I would be getting my ops person full time, because even if full time for him, what's that going to cost you?
It would probably be around for him because he works, he works for CSX. He makes like $100,000 a year, and so like with us, we pay him $700 a week. So like he said he could go full time around 60 or 70 a year. So like, if we pay him, we just doubled what we pay him, probably like, I don't know, 4,000, 5,000 a month, somewhere around there. I'm sure he would be entertained to go. Right now, we pay him, like 28, 3,000 a month, basically part-time.
So even if you got both of those guys, if you increased your salary to him, by about $4,000 and you brought on a VA, that's only a $5,500 difference.
Yeah.
Right. So in a $5,500 difference, you're still profiting $5,000 to $10,000 a month.
Yeah.
But you just almost doubled the amount of effort and impact that you can create.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. Dalton's in a great situation. He can actually make both of these hires and still produce a profit. The question is no longer, can he afford it? The real question is whether protecting a larger margin is worth keeping himself and his team stuck. Dude, I think you're being a little cautious.
Yes.
Which I get it, right? Like I 100% get it, but like, dude, y'all are doing such great work and there's nothing biblical about being cautious.
Nah. So I probably could, and this is something crossed my mind, but you had mentioned it earlier. I probably could, instead of doing 15% set aside for taxes out of the profit, maybe 10 and put the other 5 back into the business.
It's irrelevant, honestly, but just because like either way it's in the bank account, right? Like either way, if you're missing payroll, you're pulling that out or whatever. Like, but I think you're probably right. Like you probably could lower that to 10 and then try to pay, put 15%. If you're doing the profit first method, maybe put 15% over. So now you just gained another 5%, at your disposal. But that's either way, it doesn't matter because you're not like right now you're profiting, you're saving 10 grand a month. It's not going to cost you. You're just going to save a little extra money every month.
Yeah.
But with that being said, you're still in a good position because your get small budget's probably going to be around $20,000 a month. You're saving, so that means you got 3 months of savings right off the bat, and probably within 2 or 3 months you're back up to the 4 months of savings.
Yeah.
However, you can double that impact. So there's three things. Number one, every month I would be saying, how many months of savings do I have? Just make sure that stays above 3, right? Right. And I even calculate sometimes because I am someone that gets a little anxiety about money because I grew up poor. And so I do sometimes just do my own math and like, crap, if I lost 50% of my clients, like 50%, COVID happened 2.0. And I'm like, you know what? Even at 50%, I'm only losing $1,000 a month. And if I lost 50% of my clients, I'm only losing $1,000 a month, and I have 60 grand in the bank. I can last 5 years on that. Well, now it's like, well, that's not going to happen. That's crazy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Right. And so I want to get rid of that fear that you've got. And instead, I want you to get aggressive on building this incredible team because, dude, you're like tripling down on the mission, right? Like you're serving the team and you're building a team and you're loving on them and you're teaching them what to do. And then you're also serving the church, you know, in this incredible way as well. And so let's find you some people in LATAM that you can double down for a little bit cheaper. Let's keep 3 to 4 months of savings. Once you get to 4, let's grow more, right? Let's pay a little better, hire another person.
Yeah.
And then I'll have my team reach out right after the call, and I'll introduce you to 2 different folks that I want to 2 different folks. One that focuses more on the Philippines. So they're kind of nice because they work at night while you work at the day. And then I'll do LATAM as well. And so depending on the strategy, you may want one or the other. And what I recommend is going down both of their path, getting as many applicants as humanly possible, and then filter them, right? Because it doesn't really, neither one of them charge until they help you find someone, right?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Send me those details. That sounds good.
Okay. Does this help?
That sounds good. Yeah, that's helpful. I've it just gave me a little bit of just a push of I've been thinking that something like this needs to be done, and so this sounds good. Let's do it.